talked about this grace and law in Romans, you know, even the Romans had a misunderstanding about the grace. That, and in verse 6 he straightens it out, just like you talked about in Acts chapter 2 and verses 38. In chapter 6 it says, what shall we say? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? These were Christians he were talking about.
Right.
You look at the beginning of Romans chapter 1, it says these, the saints here at Rome. These were Christians, the Christians here at Rome, the church at Rome.
Right.
They were Christians, but they had forgotten something.
Right.
He says, shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. Do not continue in sin, because grace will not abound.
That's right.
That's right.
And that's what he's telling them. For we died to sin, how should we live any longer therein? So you were supposed to have died to sin.
That's right.
And he says, oh, are you ignorant? Are you unlearned that all who were baptized into Christ, that's how you get into Christ.
right.
You baptized into Christ, were baptized into His death, and were buried, therefore, with Him through baptism into His death, and as Christ was raised
That's right.
from the dead through the glory of the Father, so we are to walk in newness of life.